let's talk about San Antonio. This, Rachel, is the trade that terrified the rest of the league, at least the members of the NBA that I talked to over the last few days. The three-team trade with the Bulls and Kings, San Antonio landed former All-Star guard De'Aaron Fox. In exchange, the Spurs sent out Trey Jones, Zach Collins, Sidy Cissoko, 2 conditional first-round picks, 2 unprotected first-round picks, and 2 second-round picks. Now, that sounds like a lot on paper, all those picks coming out. But the Spurs were able to protect their best assets. They still have, 2 unprotected first-round picks from Atlanta, plus a pick swap with the Hawks. They've got all but 1 of their own picks to trade moving forward. They didn't give up Stephon Castle. They didn't give up any rotation players. They didn't give up Devin Vassell or Keldon Johnson, 2 guys that you will expect to be in a deal down the line that might land another player of a star caliber. So I thought this was a great deal for San Antonio because not only did they get De'Aaron Fox, who I think is a great fit opposite Wembanyama. Fox is a terrific pick-and-roll player. He's great in the open floor. He's a tremendous clutch-time player. It has been the last couple of seasons. But in terms of San Antonio's future, he's not slotted into that number 2 spot opposite Wembanyama. He's slotted into number 3. Like, he is now the 3rd guy on that team. Like, number 2 is vacant right now. They don't know who number 2 is at this point. So I thought this was a masterstroke by San Antonio to get the guy they wanted, to get their point guard of the present and the future without having to give up the assets that they're going to need to get one more guy down the line.
Do you remember how he said that San Antonio was number 1 on his list and the only place he wanted to go? Get ready for a lot more of that. As you said, they still have the number 2 slot open, if that's what you want to call it. There are going to be people, young talent, lining up to play with Victor Wembanyama. We've talked about this a bunch. You know how I feel about him. I think he is destined, injuries aside, to be a top 10 player of all time. And I think everyone in this generation knows it. I think there will be young, talented guys competing to get to San Antonio. I don't think they'll have to be giving up a ton here and there, certainly as free agents become available. And for them, as you point out, yes, they gave up assets, but to use probably Greg Popovich's favorite analogy, it's like he had a whole wine cave there and he rummaged around for a few of the bad bottles and handed them out, to Sacramento. I mean, they didn't have to give up anything good. They were able to keep Steven. I mean, I just think that this is a huge win for them. And De'Aaron Fox will not be the last guy who, when saying, I want to trade or I want you guys to get rid of me or I'm not going to resign here, send me somewhere I want to go, it will be San Antonio. So I expect that only to continue. And De'Aaron's probably happy he got in when he did, because I think this is a train that is only going in one direction over the next 5 to 10 years. So I think we're going to see more of that in Sacramento if they weren't going to be able to keep Fox, which he made clear in 2 separate contract negotiations that he was not going to re-sign and end up staying there. They're in a position now to keep going. And I think they made some other decent moves to get themselves in a place they want to be. And I'm interested to see what this team can do with Sabonis at its unquestioned helm.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly don't know exactly what Sacramento's doing, like rejoining Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan and Domantas Sabonis. It just feels like they're kind of putting Band-Aids on bullet holes.
Are you saying it didn't work in Chicago? Because I remember them winning 2 titles with those guys.
Yes, it was an electric pairing.
Electric pairing.
It was an electric mix with that group. Yeah, I don't know how it's going to work out with Sacramento. Same thing with Chicago. They're just kind of spinning their wheels to me at this point. Would think the only, criticism, and criticism might be too strong a word, but the only skepticism you have about this deal is that at 27, De'Aaron Fox might be too old to fit alongside these guys. I mean, Wembanyama's 21. Castle is 20. They're on like this long-term timeline. But for right now, getting De'Aaron Fox and sliding him into that starting point guard spot, where what do you go for? 24-13 in his first game with San Antonio. That's going to be a terrific fit. Like, he just makes a lot of sense there. And now they can set their sights on whoever that next guy may be. I mean, you never know what happens with Devin Booker in Phoenix if he becomes available. It's crazy, but Zion Williamson, we've kind of heard the whispers about Zion potentially being on the trade block at some point. What if I can't even imagine what a Zion Wembanyama front court would look like. I mean,
I know, but do you see Zion in that organization? I'm not sure that I do. I don't know. Who knows?
Not really. Yeah. It's just
Yeah,
more
I mean,
pie in
look,
the sky.
Devin Booker obviously would be I mean, can you imagine Devin Booker and Wemby together? And Darren Fox maybe also on that team? I mean, here's what I know about Darren Fox. He's younger than Chris Paul. And so I think he is a great bridge for them. I'm curious about Chris Paul, actually, and this has been a lovely year for Chris Paul. He said, I think there was a couple different records that he was close to that he was able to get, or milestones he was able to pass. Obviously, being in the organization has been really good for him. He and Wemby have really had some nice moments together. Do you think, though, this means that we'll see Chris Paul retire this summer?
Uh, I don't think that's what it means. I think if there's a team out there that look, I think if Chris Paul wants to be a backup point guard somewhere, he's going to have a lot of options to do it.
Hmm.
I don't know that he gets another option to start on a legitimate team, but I mean, yeah, look, he's still playing reasonably good basketball. There's no
Yeah,
reason to believe he couldn't play for as a backup on any kind of contender. I'm not even blanking on where he could wind up, but I mean, if he's willing to take backup money to play somewhere, he could probably squeeze 2 or 3 more years out of his career. That's kind of my view of it. I just yeah, I look. It's he's also accepted the Fox signing or his Fox trade.
yeah,
Like I think he said something to the effect of, "I would do the same thing." Like this is a starting point guard there, so he's saying all the right things. Look, they're just trending in the right direction in San Antonio. They're making all the right moves,
yeah,
and I'm telling you, when I talk to different executives about this deal, it's like crap. Like, all right, they got Fox, and now who do they get next? Like, who is the next man up on that list? Because to your point, there are going to be guys that want to play in San Antonio. They already want to play for Wembanyama with Wembanyama. Now you get Fox there, Castle getting better by the year. They are going to become a very appealing location over the next 2 or 3 years before some of these salaries get out of control. While they have got guys under control contract. So another step forward for the San Antonio Spurs.